researcher studying children in Japan walks into a preschool classroom and goes quiet. She has spent years watching how kids grow and learn in different countries, the United States, Germany, Australia, and many others. But this room stops her. The children are not being told what to do. No adult is jumping in to fix their problems. No one is answering their questions before they even ask. And yet these children are busy, focused, and working things out on their own. She visits 14 more classrooms across Japan. Same thing every time. She comes back with one question nobody in her field had asked out loud before. What are Japanese parents doing every single day that most parents in the world are skipping? The answer fits in a handful of daily habits. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what they are and how to use them starting tonight. This channel exists for one reason: to tell you what child brain research actually says, not what popular parenting advice wants you to hear. Let's get started. Here's something researchers have found when they look closely at Japanese children: the daily habits in Japanese homes. Things like bedtime, mealtime, and how parents respond when a child struggles produce children whose brains develop in a very specific way. These are not expensive habits. They do not require lessons, tutors, or special programs. They are quiet, daily, and almost completely invisible. And most parents outside Japan are not doing them. Same children, same basic needs, same human brain. So what is happening differently inside Japanese homes? The answer starts with something Japanese parents understand about the brain that many parents in other countries do not. The brain builds itself in a specific order. You cannot skip a step. You cannot rush a stage. If you try, the whole structure becomes unstable. Think of it like building a house. You start with the ground floor, then the second floor, then the top floor. The ground floor of the brain is the body, sleeping, waking up, feeling hungry, feeling thirsty, knowing when you are tired. The second floor is where talking, learning, and physical skills live. The top floor is where independent thinking, problem solving, and caring about others develop. Here is the mistake most parents make. They are so eager to build the second and third floors, they sign their children up for lessons, push them to study harder, teach them to be polite to elders, that they never properly build the ground floor. It is like putting up beautiful upper floors on a shaky base. The whole house eventually falls. Japanese parenting keeps the focus on the ground floor first. Before lessons, before test scores, before any of it, the foundation has to be solid, or nothing built on top of it will last. So what does building that ground floor actually look like? Japanese pediatric research describes the goal before age 5 this way: raise a basic, functioning human being. A child who falls asleep naturally when it gets dark. A child who wakes up with the morning light. A child who goes looking for food when they are hungry and water when they are thirsty. Not because a parent reminded them, because their own body told them. This sounds simple, but many children today never develop this skill because parents are always one step ahead of them. Here is an example from the research behind this video. In one Japanese family, before the child ever said they were thirsty, the parent placed a cold drink in front of them. The parent was being careful, thinking, "It is probably time for a drink. Better not wait." The intention was good, but developmentally, that moment was a missed opportunity. The goal by age 5 is for the child to feel the heat, notice the sweat on their skin, and think to themselves, "I need water." That inner awareness, that ability to read your own body's signals, is not automatic. It is built slowly through practice. And every time a parent jumps in first, that practice does not happen. Unless the child is in real danger, Japanese parenting asks parents to hold back, to wait, to watch closely without stepping in. The child notices their hunger. The child reaches for the water. The child's body and brain start learning to work together. That is the ground floor being built. Sleep is the other half of this foundation. For a 5-year-old, the target is 11 hours of sleep per day. Going to bed at 7 in the evening and waking at 6 in the morning is ideal. If that is not realistic, 10 hours is still enough. A 9 o'clock bedtime with a 7 o'clock wake up. The bedroom should be dark and quiet, no screens, no noise. The brain does its most important building work during those early nighttime hours, and that work cannot happen in a bright, noisy room at 11 at night. Now here is the concept that lives at the heart of Japanese child rearing. The concept that Western parenting culture has no word for. It is called Mimamoru. Mi means watch. Mamoru means protect. Together, the word means something like watchful waiting, but that translation does not carry the full weight of what it means in practice. In most parenting cultures, waiting feels like doing nothing, like failing to help, like being passive. Mimamoru says the opposite. Watching without stepping in is not passive. It is a deliberate choice. It is a skill. It is, in the Japanese view, one of the most important things a parent can offer a child. When a child is stuck on a problem and the parent waits, the child's brain has to reach for its own answer. The part of the brain responsible for planning, problem-solving, and self-control only grows through use. Every time a parent provides the solution before the child has reached for it, that part of the brain stays quiet. Every time the parent waits, that part of the brain fires up and does its work. Mimamoru is not about ignoring children. It is not about letting them get hurt. Japanese parents who practice this approach stay close, stay present, and stay alert. But they do not rush in. They trust that the child's brain, when given a moment of space, will begin to work. And research on this approach consistently finds that children raised with this kind of watchful patience develop stronger problem-solving skills, better emotional control, and a deeper belief in their own ability to handle difficult moments. The secret to raising a brain that can think is giving that brain enough room to practice thinking. But there is a second piece of this that many parents miss, and this one is about you, not your child. Japanese child development research is direct about this. The biggest obstacle to a child's brain development is often not a problem with the child. It is a problem with the parent's stress level. When parents are stressed, their brains become anxious. And when a parent's brain is running on anxiety, even small, normal behaviors from a child can feel urgent and wrong. The parent starts giving instructions constantly. They step in before the child can act. They correct before the child can try. They warn before the child can think. Not because they are bad parents, because they are exhausted ones. And their overwhelmed nervous system is responding to everything as if it is an emergency. The research behind this video describes a real case. A 4th grade boy had stopped going to school. His father, trying to help, rearranged his entire work schedule and commuted 2 hours each way every day to be there for his son. When a specialist evaluated the situation, the boy was physically healthy. He was calm at home, but the father was completely worn down, severely sleep-deprived, running on stress. And because the father's anxiety was so high, he had been closely monitoring and managing every part of his son's day without even fully realizing it. The boy, feeling constantly watched and managed, had gradually retreated. The intervention was simple. The father started going to bed earlier. He began taking care of his own basic needs: rest, good food, time with friends, small things that brought him joy. As the father's stress came down, his nervous system calmed. His need to control and correct reduced naturally. The boy, no longer feeling the pressure of constant oversight, relaxed. He started smiling again. He returned to school. The lesson is not subtle. A parent's inner state is one of the most powerful forces shaping a child's brain development. When children see their parents calm, rested, and enjoying their lives, it gives them a deep sense of safety. And a child who feels safe is a child whose brain is free to grow. Before you worry about your child's brain, take care of your own nervous system. Get enough sleep. That is not selfish. That is the first and most important act of parenting. There is a practical finding from this research that you can use tonight, and it connects everything you have just heard. Avoid overwhelming children with logic and instruction, especially as they grow older. When children reach their upper elementary school years, parents tend to increase the advice giving. Life experience makes parents want to protect their children from every mistake before it happens. You need to be more organized. I already told you to plan ahead. This is exactly what I warned you about. Everything the parent says is probably correct. It all comes from real love. But when parents constantly provide the right answers and the correct path forward, children gradually stop generating their own. The part of the brain that learns to think independently only develops when the child is allowed to choose their own direction, make a mistake, face the consequences, and figure out what to do next. That sequence, choose, fail, reflect, improve, is how independent thinking is built. Parents who skip the middle parts by providing constant guidance are accidentally preventing that development from happening. What works better is stepping down from the teacher role and speaking more like a trusted older friend. If your child has put off their homework until the night before it is due, instead of a lecture about planning, try sharing your own story. Honestly, when I was your age, I used to do the same thing. I left everything until the last minute and then panicked. I remember exactly how that felt. That small shift does something important. It shows the child that the person they look up to has also struggled, also failed, also had to figure things out. It gives them hope that they too will grow, and it keeps the conversation open instead of shutting it down with a correction. The brain that learns to think is the brain that is allowed to practice thinking. Give your child that chance. One more habit. This one changes everything about how you praise your child. Most parents have heard that praising children is important, and it is. But the kind of praise matters enormously. When praise is tied only to results, a perfect test score, a winning performance, a finished task, children begin to see their value as tied to outcomes. They start to feel that love and approval only come when they succeed. A child who scored 100 on a test and was praised heavily for it may feel devastated the next time they score 99, not because 1 point is meaningful, but because the message they received was, "Your value is in the number." This makes children afraid to try new things. If trying and failing might take away the approval they depend on, the safer choice is not to try at all. Japanese parenting research points toward a different approach. Praise the distance traveled, not the destination reached. Notice growth. Name it out loud. You used to need help washing your hands. Now you do it completely on your own. A month ago you couldn't read that word. Look at you now. Yet, it does not matter how small the progress is. Children grow in small steps every single day. And when parents name those steps, when they say out loud, "I see how far you have come," children develop a deep, steady belief in their own ability to keep improving. That belief is not just confidence. It is the foundation of a brain that welcomes challenges rather than running from them. A brain that sees difficulty as information rather than defeat. That is what you are building when you shift from praising results to witnessing growth. They worked this out long before modern brain research had the tools to confirm it. Not through lessons or structured programs. Through daily habits so quiet and ordinary that most parents outside Japan never notice them. Go to bed early. Wait before stepping in. Manage your own stress first. Share your failures as well as your wisdom. Notice growth, not just results. That is it. No special equipment. No expensive curriculum. Just a different understanding of what a child's brain actually needs and the patience to provide it, one ordinary day at a time. The next time your child is struggling with something small and your instinct says, "Fix it now," pause. Count silently to 10. What is happening in that pause is not nothing. It is a brain reaching for its own answer. And it needs that moment far more than it needs yours. Tell me in the comments, which of these habits surprised you most? The sleep research, the idea of waiting before stepping in, or the way praise might be working against your child's growth. The parent reading your comment at midnight, exhausted and second-guessing everything, needs to know they are not alone in asking these questions. Next video, Japanese parents handle anger and meltdowns in a way that looks completely wrong to most Western parents. What is actually happening inside a child's brain during those moments? And why the Japanese approach produces better long-term results is not what most parenting books assume.